Now to the most important part of every show. The most important part of every show is our guest. And today's guest is Aaron Bessey. Aaron is the new athletic director at Young Harris College. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you having me. Excited to be here.
Now, I say new. How long have you been there?
So I started technically July 1st.
Okay.
I did a little back and forth before I got here just to kind of get a lay of the land, meet some of our head coaches, staff members, community folks. But July 1st was the official start date, so about a month and a half in.
Okay. What does an athletic director do? I mean, just in general, I'm a sports junkie, and you always, when it comes, and my favorite's college football, and you always hear, well, the athletic director this, the athletic, and I'm like, what? I know what the head coach does.
Yep.
I mean, if you've played ball, you know that. What does an athletic director do?
That's a great question, and it's kind of an open-ended question, right? Because there's so many different things that come up in a day in the life of an athletic director. But basically, and we don't have football, so I apologize. As most people know, I love football as well. We
Y'all
don't have
are
football.
Undefeated. Young
We
Harris
are
College
undefeated
football.
and untied.
Undefeated.
We're getting those T-shirts made, by the way. I think people would love to buy those. I know you would. But yeah, we the main thing I would say that we're charged with is providing the student athletes with the best experience possible once we get them here. So just the end all be all for everything in the athletic department funnels through the AD, and that's so important from so many different levels. I would say the main thing day to day that I do is fundraising and engagement, because without resources, obviously, we can't do what we need to retain the best coaches, recruit the best coaches, which in turn recruits and retains the best student athletes, build facilities, raise scholarship money, which, we're going to talk about all that later. But that's the main thing, I think, day to day that any athletic director does. But there's so much that comes up with it. I mean, you're overseeing at a minimum, like here at Young Harris, 40 to 50 full-time staff members with coaches and other administrators. And so you're kind of the cog that keeps the wheels moving. I think from a culture standpoint is the other area that an AD has their biggest impact and imprint on an athletic department, is from setting the standard and culture of what every one of your coaches and staff members, and then in turn student athletes, are going to represent and be about.
I've just determined I never want to be an athletic director.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want that
stressful.
much. That's too many balls in the air, literally balls in the air.
Literally, I like that. That's good.
Well, tell me a little about your background.
Sure. Yeah, so I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, the oldest of four boys. My parents, this is funny, they had me and Christian, the second oldest, and my mom really wanted to have a daughter, so they tried again, twin boys. So that was it. So one of four boys. Family of six, obviously. Went to NC State, the North Carolina State University.
That's disappointing.
No, yeah,
Terribly
Mr. Seminole over there. We got a little ACC rivalry going on here. Football season's about to start. Should be fun for both of our alma maters. But after NC State, I went and worked in the athletic department at Appalachian State in beautiful Boone, North Carolina.
Wow,
it is.
That program just amazes me.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're able to do year in, year out is amazing.
Yeah, it all started when
culture?
they beat. Yeah, it's culture. When they beat Michigan.
Right?
In
Oh,
football
I
back
watched
in-
that game. Loved it.
Won 3 straight FCS national championships, went to move to Division I. The football there, it's the same as anywhere. Here for us, it's basketball.
Right, sure.
And baseball is very impactful as well, and softball. But for football at a school like Appalachian State to excel, that allows the rest of the athletic department to excel. The amount of revenue that football program brings in every year, the App State fans and alumni are just, man, they're rabid. They keep the rest of that department afloat to where they have the resources to compete in the rest of the college athletic sports. So, but that football program, the tradition's unmatched. My wife played volleyball at Appalachian State.
Wow.
So that's where we met. And then after a couple of years there, the athletic director that was at App became the AD down at Georgia State, down the road in Atlanta. Right. He's still there, Charlie Cobb. He brought me and a few of us with him. So I spent a couple of years down the road. That's when I first got introduced to Young Harris College, because our programs played them in some exhibition matches. From there, I went to Lenoir-Rhyne, Division II school in Hickory, very similar to Young Harris, except they do have football. And from there, the last couple of years, I've been at UNC Asheville. So only an hour and 40 minutes down the road.
Close.
Very familiar, very familiar.
Close.
So very excited to be here. I think the future's bright for Young Harris, I'll say that.
All right, tell me, what is your plan?
Yeah, that's a very loaded question as well. I would say that the first 90 days are so important because that is really when you do establish that culture that we talked about earlier. So getting everybody on the same page as far as what we're going to be about, what we're going to represent. And for me, that's doing things the right way, but doing them to be competitively excellent. So we're going to win. That's the main thing that I want everyone to hear, and what I want our staff and coaches to embody is that we're going to be competitively excellent across the board. We do face some challenges with resources in certain areas, but we're not going to let those excuses hold us back. Those are the things that myself mainly and Dr. Van Horn, our president, are going to focus on improving. But we are in a position where we can be a top 25 Division II athletic department in the country, and that's our goal. We're not there now. We've got a lot of work to do, but that's where we're going to be in the next couple of years, and that's where we're going. So in order to do that, we really have to get a lay of the land, figure out what our opportunities are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. And so that's a big part of the first 90 days, and then also going from there and building relationships with people in the community like yourself. Rick Andrews, proud supporter of Young Harris College Mountain Lions, and getting to know those people. And
After FSU.
Yes. And so that's the other big part is we really want to engage with people in the community, and then our alumni that even if they're not in the community are people that have been supportive or want to be supportive as we move forward to chase our goals.
I've gone to a lot of soccer games, enjoyed them, but that was years past with my sons. They were both soccer nuts. But I love the basketball games, and I have a few extra tickets that I've taken, friends and family. Every one of them has had a tremendous experience.
I love it.
If y'all have not been to a basketball game, it is a must-do. Truthfully, I had never been associated with ladies or women's sports that much. Their games, honestly, the best game I saw this past year was one. They beat, I think, the conference leader at the time. It was in double overtime.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
The
exciting.
entire stadium or
Arena
football.
I get it.
Went crazy. It was just a great game, and you have a lot of the regulars that come and cheer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the old TV show Cheers, where everyone knows your name. I mean,
Yes.
It's just a great experience. I know the basketball. I know the soccer.
Yep.
You've got baseball, softball. What other sports?
We've got baseball, softball, men's lacrosse, which, again, to your point, if you haven't been to a men's lacrosse game, you need to check it out. I fell in love with watching that sport in person a few years ago when I was at Lenoir-Rhine, which has men's lacrosse. It is such a fun sport to watch. So men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse are also in the spring with baseball and softball, as well as golf, men's and women's, tennis, men's and women's, as well as outdoor track and field, men's and women's as well. Those are all our spring sports. Winter, men's and women's basketball and indoor track and field. And then in the fall, so the first sports to get kicked off here in a couple weeks, they're already all back on campus, are cross country, volleyball, just women's, and then men's and women's soccer, which you touched on earlier. So that's the full gamut of our 17 sport offerings.
So 17 different sports.
17, yes, sir.
Are there any sports going on right now?
The fall sports student athletes, it's a good question, just got all to campus yesterday, Monday.
Okay, so
they have exhibition matches this weekend, and that's volleyball, men's soccer, and women's soccer. And then cross country will start in September.
Okay, and I know that the soccer stadium has been updated since I went.
Yeah, even in the last couple of weeks, we just installed fancy, brand new, state-of-the-art technology field turf. And that's where soccer and lacrosse both play behind our baseball field if you go out to our complex. It's beautiful. I mean, our coaches and the student athletes, they're literally out there salivating. They get to practice for the first time out there tomorrow, and they're pumped. So we just got the last bit of rubber installed last night. It's night and day from what we've had for the last 10, 12 years, excuse me.
That's exciting.
Come check it out this fall.
Folks, today's guest is the new athletic director at Young Harris College, Aaron Bessey. Tell me about the facilities at the college as a whole.
Yeah, so I think the community at large would be excited to hear the plans that we have for that outdoor field area that we touched on with the soccer and lacrosse turf field. We have a couple things that in the next couple of years we plan to accomplish, not just talk about, but actually accomplish. And the big one I think that'll appeal to the community is we want to build an 8-lane track and field complex.
Oh, wow.
That would be open to the public. So obviously Union County and Towns County, there are track complexes around us, but this would be brand new, state-of-the-art, like I said, open to the public, 8 lanes, 400-meter standard Olympic track with a throws area, a jumps area, everything that we would need to host high school state meets, to host conference meets, obviously our own home collegiate meets, and then anything else. It's senior games, Special Olympics, you name it. Like I said, will also be a good engagement tool for us to get more community members on our campus. So that's a big one for us. We just started indoor and outdoor track and field this year. So that's a brand new sport for us.
Did not know that.
Yes, so brand new. We've had cross country, but track and field is new. And Coach Matt Logan's done a great job building that roster up as we get started for our first year of competition. So that's a big one. And then the other two main ones are we want to build a baseball and softball field house and hitting facility between those two fields out there.
Between the soccer and
Between softball and baseball. There's a nice gap if you go out there. And that would include locker rooms for those programs, lounges for those programs, coaches' offices, and then a big 4-bay minimum indoor hitting facility with a little weight area as well. Right now, people would be shocked to hear baseball and softball is, despite them having been so successful in the last few years, they don't even have locker rooms, which is crazy at a Division II collegiate institution. But we really want to make that happen for those programs. Coach Wagner and Coach Holmesley do a great job. So that's a big one for us. And then last but not least, we want to build a 2-story athletics field house. Right now, we've got most of our staff and coaches' offices in that motel across the street from the main part of campus. We need better offices, and we also need locker rooms for the rest of our outdoor sports: men's and women's soccer, men's and women's lacrosse, track and field, cross country, which we just touched on. So locker room enhancements, office enhancement, places for people in the community to come hang out and spend time, including that indoor hitting facility that we would allow the public to use on a certain access type of basis. Those are things that I think the community would be excited to hear about and get behind, because it'll only add to the youth sports and just, keeping people active around us.
I honestly think that having those facilities would spill over and help our local high schools. The hitting,
exactly.
That is.
It gets cold here.
Yeah.
You need a place to train.
Do they currently? What do you have? Porta potties? You don't have locker rooms for the.
Yeah.
Honestly, that shocked me.
It shocked me too during the process of getting down here. But again, it kind of pointed to more of the amount of opportunities we have to really. Like, I think our coaches and our student athletes are almost overperforming based on what they have, overachieving.
Right.
And so that's exciting, because if you have good people, I know how to go raise money and build facilities.
Right.
So if we can put those two things together, that's going to build a product that the community can take advantage of, but also will be very proud of. Like, hey, we've got one of the best Division II athletic departments right down the road here in rural North Georgia mountains, So that's important for us.
And I would take that you kind of need that for competition purposes. I love competition, whether it's on the sports field or in business. I would think, because every young athlete, they have choices in our country. There's a ton of divisions, and there's a ton of different schools.
Yep.
When you try and recruit, that's got to be a challenge. Tell me what the vision is, or how maybe we can help.
Yeah, it's a great question. And you specifically, not to beat a dead horse, but you are helping. So we need more Rick Andrews of the world. So we have the challenges in facilities, and then the other big challenge that our coaches face is in scholarships. So in student athlete scholarship support, the example I use is a prospective student athlete could love our head baseball coach, Coach Stephen Wagner, as much as they possibly can. They can love the area. It's beautiful. They could even be from here. But if they go on a visit to North Georgia, and at the end of the day, because of our restraints, they're offered $5,000 more or even $2,500 more in student aid through their athletic scholarship, then they're probably going to go there. That's the way that it works right now, is parents and student athletes are going to go wherever it's the least expensive place to go.
Having put 2 sons through college, yes, the dollar really does help a family.
It
I
does.
understand.
And there are exceptions to that rule, but in most cases, those are the battles that our coaches are losing. And they're doing a great job. We've got outstanding student athletes, but in order to get us to where we want to go, a big way that people can support us is by joining our Mountain Lion Club, which is new. That 100% goes to scholarships for student athletes. It's 100% tax deductible. It gets you exclusive benefits like all sports season passes, basketball season passes in the VIP section where you sit, Rick, hospitality passes so that before and at halftime of every basketball game, they can get beer, wine, soda, water, food, you name it, exclusive Adidas gear. We have a named annual scholarship where we can tie you to a specific student athlete so you know exactly who your money is going to support.
He better do, or she better do well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can keep track of them throughout the year. Like, hey, you better pick it up. So there's a lot of really exciting incentives along with giving that haven't been in place here before that I've obviously seen work at other places.
Sure.
And so we're just now instilling that into what we're doing, our values, our culture here. And so it's a really good product for people to invest in. It's making a difference. You know, the economic impact of having Young Harris in this region is upwards of $18-19 million a year to this area
Sure.
with visiting teams and parents and all the people coming to town. And a lot of people don't know that. And of course, you know, why would you know that unless we're telling people about it? So we've got to do a better job of marketing our importance and our value to the area itself so that people then do feel, I don't want to say an obligation, but an enticement to then get
Sure.
back and come support our student athletes and get involved. And plus, it's great athletics. You've been there. There's not a huge
It's a
difference
blast.
between lower Division I and Division
Yeah.
II.
Co-
This is
I love
high
high
quality.
school. I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, I love competition, whether it's high school all the way up to college, and it's a great atmosphere. So if they join the Mountain Lion Club,
Yep.
does that give them the VIP tickets?
It does. It does. It gives you season tickets. We have packages for 2 or 4, and then we can always work with people if they need more. It gives you the hospitality passes that I touched on. That's all part of the package of giving through a scholarship.
And that includes, I go to the games, normally in between the guys and the gals, there's a dinner.
That is the hospitality, and now we'll have alcohol at that, which is great for free. Free, quote unquote. You're joining the Mountain Lion Club, but it's free once you're there.
It's worth, folks, it is such a good time. It's a great meal. You're around folks, different folks in the community. You talk sports. It is really a great atmosphere. It's a good meal and a good time.
And you also get parking. That's the other thing, too, that I know is important for our sponsors and for our individual donors is you get parking, which parking on campus can be a challenge when we're having basketball
Sure.
games. Really, any athletic event, you get a parking pass right next to the Harp, which is where we play basketball, which is a huge benefit as well. That's the way to join on an individual basis. On a corporate level, you can also join through a corporate sponsorship. We have plenty of signage, in-game P announcements, social media, all that type of stuff to help your business grow.
How can they find out more? Where do they need to look?
Great question. So our website, yhcathletics.com, or honestly, the easiest way would probably just be to reach out to me directly, Bessey, Bessey, at yhc.edu, Bessey at yhc.edu, and we'll figure out what works best and make it happen.
Awesome, folks. I have wanted to have you on for a long time.
I've been looking forward to this.
To talk about sports. Folks, this is something I hope you'll get behind, not just for the kids and their education, but it's a great time. I promise you, if you go to a game, you're going to have a good time. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you,
I wish
Rick.
you all the best this coming year.
You're a good man.